about this meeting, about the agenda, is located at the front of at the entrance. Please silence your phones. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Looks like we'll do roll call here, and I think Director Sorkin is here. I don't know.
Yeah, she's in the office over there.
Okay, so we have we'll just do roll call. Director Reardon?
Present.
Director Dahl?
Here.
Director Addy's here. Director Yuhan?
Here.
Director Lotiger?
Present.
Director Westby?
Here.
Director Sorkin is not at the table at this minute. So when she arrives, we'll let the record reflect when she arrives. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Director Reardon, support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion?
No additions?
Any additions or deletions? Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Recognition of visitor input. I did not have anybody sign up, but Mr. Nelson was placed on the agenda at, he's on here at, where is he?
6.1.
6.1. Okay.
And I have some additions and deletions to make.
We already went through that.
Oh, did you? Well,
Yeah. Okay.
Tucker speaking, now we're at 6-1.
Still speaking at 6-1.
Okay.
Okay. So with that being said,
Consent.
agenda.
Consent agenda. I'd like to discuss 423, 424, and 641.
6, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, 6, and 4, 1, 1?
say those again, please.
641,
Where's on the
the
consent
high school
agenda?
bathroom.
Well, that's not on the consent agenda, but
Oh, I thought it was.
no, it's under. And what was the other consent agenda item?
Or maybe I'm looking at it wrong.
And anyhow, if we're calling that, then 423, I'd like to discuss separately.
She already pulled it.
Okay. that's
Okay, so
fine.
4, so,
To repeat, yeah.
yeah, we got some, so consent agenda. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Which ones are we removing?
Okay. We didn't have a motion to approve
No.
the consent agenda. Discussion.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, all right. Motion by Yuhan, support by Reardon. Any discussion? Okay, now Polly.
Well, I thought Ruth already asked to pull 4.24 for discussion.
4.24,
Is that what you said?
And 23.
there's a 4.24.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, so let's start from the top. Because we had like 4.3, 4.4, 4.6, and then you stopped.
Okay, 4.23 was.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
My mistake. So you just want to pull 4.23 for discussion
Correct. And then 4.24.
and 4.24 for discussion, okay?
all right, and I would just like to note, I don't know, we don't have payment of the bills in the consent agenda. Regular minutes, but not payment of the bills.
I thought that was moved down to the,
That's number 2,
Yeah.
6.2 Treasurer's Report.
Okay, thank you.
So would the board want to discuss these now at 4.23, 4.24, or would you want to approve the consent agenda and then go into it right
let's
after?
approve it, then we can talk
Okay.
about it.
So all those in favor, any more discussion or any more on the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move to 4.23, a discussion. Okay, go ahead.
I just have a question on this. So when if we give the okay on this, are we paying for this, or is this the grant paying for this?
Excellent question. This is the grant paying for it. It's kind of a weird situation because it's actually a requirement of the grant that we send people to this training. So it's budgeted in the grant. We're not paying for it. The grant is paying for it.
Okay.
And I have a question about that then too. So the people that are going, how are they related to the Montana Institute? It's the science of the positive. It's all about that. Now, Emily, is she Indian Ed?
Mm-hmm.
Diane, is she the principal, the dean in Virginia?
High school.
High school. Chad's the athletic director, and Cassandra is the PNC grant coordinator. So what direct relationship do they have to the content of this?
So they're supposed to take certain individuals. Obviously, the director is a key person who has to go, so that's why Cassandra. And then they have to take representatives. And because Emily's with the Indian Ed program, that's why she got on there. And then they're recommending that Diana, she's just interested in these types of things. So she has volunteered to go. And then Chad, among the two activity directors, has volunteered to go.
Okay, were any other staff members, was this put to any other staff members that might want to go and/or be a broader representation of our whole district?
I am not aware of any, but I don't know the exact specific details Cassandra used to put these names on the agenda for you to look at.
Okay.
But they're looking at them, these are admin type positions, with the exception of Emily, who's there because of the Indian Ed position.
Okay, so you're saying Cassandra put the list of people who either volunteered or she's recommending to, but didn't present it to the whole staff?
No, she did not, and that probably wasn't the intent at all. They want people who are interested and involved in it.
Well, right, because you don't know if other staff was interested or not, because if we took something, one from each level, an elementary, a high, middle school grade, and then a senior high, and then maybe the Indian Ed, that would be more representative. To me, I don't know that Chad has much contact with students, does he?
Well, oh yeah, he does. He sees kids all the time. And I think the intent was that these are individuals who are responsible for implementing the program, making sure things get done, so it's not, and so these people are more directly involved with the implementation than maybe what a teacher would be on some of these activities. But that's not always true.
I got a new one now. One pager.
And then 4.3, the second one, Community Anti-Drug Coalition of America. That's Cassandra Haney, too. Now, she is the PNC program director, but we're into 3 years of a 5-year project. And, in 2 years, that whole job is going to be over. I was thinking that maybe another area would be more appropriate, either health teacher, phy ed teacher, counselor, and I just happened to run across one of our old agendas from August 22nd of 22, and we talked about Samantha Craig was having a position of substance abuse prevention grant youth group leader during the 21-22 year. And so she's already been doing that. I mean, to me, she would be a more likely person, or other people in that area of counseling and nurses and stuff. So,
And here's the difference, Director Sorkin. Cassandra Haney, this is her full-time job. She spends 40 hours a week on this. So, and part of the anti-drug, that is a large part of the grant itself, PCN grant. So 40 hours a week, this is what she has to devote to it. If we put a teacher in there, we're talking a couple hours a week or more, 10 maybe max, if they're burning the midnight oil. So that's why generally it's usually the director who goes to these events.
well,
But you don't have to approve it. You can tell me you want to look for somebody else.
it just didn't make sense to me that they're, especially when I saw that Samantha was doing that already, and she's going to, unless she retires, Samantha's going to be in our district for longer than potentially Cassandra Haney when she's, when that,
You can send two.
well, I just don't know who else, let's see, is that substance abuse thing with Samantha going on this year too? Because this was for 21, 22. So that's just a carryover for $4,000? Okay,
Yep, substance abuse doesn't go away.
okay. And,
Okay, are we done with 4.23?
not really.
I mean, Lisa, you pulled
Hey,
it, and
well,
it seems
she
like
did.
Lily's doing the talking.
Well, I was going to pull it too. I'm glad she did. I mean, either one of us.
Okay,
All right. I'm done. I guess.
okay. So 4.23, we're going to take this one separate. Can I get a motion to approve 4.23?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger, support.
I will support that.
Support by Director Yuhan. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion passes 6-1. Okay. 4.24, discussion on that.
I'm just kind of wondering what this position entails. I kind of read a little bit that it's teaching, it works with parents and with pre-K. I just would like to know a little bit about it. Because it's a chunk of change that goes out when we're, trying to watch our dollars.
Yep. And this particular school board, on that note, has told us, made the decision that we're going to pay for everything and we're going to make it free. So our parents don't really pay for either one of these programs right now. And we're spending probably excess of 200,000 plus on this program. And so we need a coordinator. Shannon's been she came from the old Virginia side. And then she picked up the duties on both sides and now one for Rock Ridge. So what she does is she coordinates the entire program. Anything pre-K, early childhood, that's what she does. So she coordinates, gets the people to do the jobs, programming it, the scheduling, and all of that. And in the old Virginia days, going back in time, she was probably working, I'm trying to guess here, maybe 25 hours a week. And then at that time, the old Virginia board said that's not enough. So they moved her up. And so then when Rock Ridge came together, it kind of inherited the old contract. The one new thing in her contract is, and it's right under and I want to point it out to you, under the salary, there's a salary rate there, 65,020 this year. Right underneath there in italics, she talked to the school board negotiating committee, and this was a topic, and sometimes their teachers aren't there, or they go sick, and so there's no one to cover class. So sometimes, in addition to running the program, she goes in as a classroom teacher. And so she asked for a little bit of remuneration if she has to go in and sub, which she does, sometimes it's quite a bit, depending what the season is. And so that's where that second, the new part, that is new, that was not in her old contract, the italics part there, that she would get 25% of what we're paying the teachers there. And if you're asking how much are we paying those teachers, $31 an hour. So if she is covering a class, and only if she is covering class, then she would get 25% of $31 an hour for that. But she runs the whole programs. However, she does talk a lot with Angie. She does, because Angie's principal Laurentian, and she does also talk with Sheena quite a bit, because Sheena's the principal of Parkview.
And so she's been already a longstanding employee.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion on 4.24?
Not for me.
I'll make a motion to
Motion by-
accept it.
Motion by Director Reardon,
Support.
support by Director Yuhan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good, that completes our consent agenda as totally approved. Item number 5, construction. 5.1, consider approval Carlos Anderson construction amendment, contract amendment number 8.
Did you move that up then?
What's that?
4.2, oh, that's consent agenda, sorry. There's my line.
Good evening.
Good evening.
These are so far away. It's good to see the high school totally populated tonight with a public meeting over there. We're in that stage of the project where we are closing out the high school project for accounting purposes. We'll be coming to you with your quarterly update the 24th of April. In preparation for that, over the last 3 years, we have had various things that we've done to this building. There's been something done, there's been wall changes. We're going to go over that in some detail. But throughout that, we've just change ordered that onto the high school with the plans, and we've been talking to Spencer about this throughout this time period of then when we got near the end, we'll bring the deferred maintenance or LTFM dollars into the high school budget and then close out that budget. So our only purpose here tonight is to get that step done, to ask for an amendment to the contract for the K-8 portion so that we can close those out. So when we come to you with the last accounting on the 24th of April, that we'll have all of those accounting, those different accounts closed out properly. So one of the things we'll do here tonight, Pete Avinen, and my name is Patrick Gallagher, if you didn't know me. We'll go through this, we'll go through the deferred maintenance work, review the KA contract amendment number 8, and then ask for your approval. And then we will be back on the 24th to give you the full accounting of the high school project.
Yeah. Thanks, Pat. As Pat said, I'm Pete Avinen. I think you all know me. I've been here for a while, and I'll be with you to the end of North Star. So just wanted to go over a few things on the deferred maintenance work, as Pat mentioned, in this building that we're sitting in right now, previously the Spectrum and now the district admin building. So just so you get an idea of where the funding is going to. And then we'll review the contract amendment that you are typically seeing in our quarterly reports. Finalize number 9 on the 24th. So then we'll answer any questions for you and approval at the end. So first up is the review of the additional deferred maintenance work in this building. And this is just a list of all the items completed. So there was some utility work outside done, some sidewalk work to make a better approach on a couple of sides of the building, parking lot on the south, some canopy work. There was some moisture, water intrusion that we fixed on the back side of the building because there was mold forming there, so we got that all cleaned up. Those kind of items. So, and you have that list in front of you as well. And all of that work totaled up together is just over $300,000. So that's the amount of deferred maintenance funding that would go into that line item, and I'll show you that one as we get through. Yep, there's a secure entry there. Are there any questions on the actual list of items before I move on to the actual amendment?
Yeah, give me just a moment, because in the initial board packet, we didn't have this list there, and we added it just to add more clarity to it. But if you'd like to take a minute to look at it, any questions?
I mean, so the contract amendment 8 was only for like 70-some thousand, if I remember right.
That's just for the K-8 portion.
Right.
That one is
Okay, I just,
301,769 is the total cost of the deferred maintenance that will go over to that referendum budget. And then the K-8 portion is what we're going to go over here in just a minute.
yeah, right.
So these deferred maintenance things, how is that included in the referendum project? We would have to do these anyway, right? But have we rolled them into the referendum project?
By doing this approval, you'll take LTFM funding and reimburse the referendum project that was done under. So as things came up pretty tied to the high school project, such as the parking lot, such as when we put the parking lot in, we lowered some of the grades, then we had to go and insulate some existing water lines when we found out what elevation they were at. It was very connected to the high school, but it was also it was eligible for LTFM funding, and it was not in the original scope. So that's why we kept track of those all the way through, kept Spencer up to date on those, and then we had decided, other than the one piece that we did get some funding for the wrestling, The rest we would wait until we got to this point so that we had them all determined as final dollar amounts.
So how did you say that they're replaced or over again? LTF?
Yes, we did change orders on the high school project to do a lot of these items. So now we're taking LTFM funding to reimburse those change orders because they were not in the original scope.
I thought you couldn't use LTFM money for a new construction,
No, every item that's
It's
on
coming
this
back?
list is existing for this building.
just for this building.
It's disconnected with the high school because of the fact that we're doing that project adjacent to this building and during the time frame of this building. So to have separate little projects for each one of these would have been quite cumbersome. So it was direction to move forward with that because you had to insulate that line because we took that parking lot down. We had to insulate it while we were there. They were kind of incidental to a lot of the high school construction.
So then our initial contract with Carl Sanderson as our contract manager, not general contractor.
Construction manager, yes.
Construction manager, yeah, not contract, but, so that didn't include deferred maintenance work, did it? But you're doing it now because you're here and you're working on this project, or what?
Again, it was, a lot of them became incidental to what we were doing on the high school. But
Right, but not this building here.
Yeah, this building, yeah.
This here.
We didn't even own this, we didn't own this building when that bond referendum passed. So that's why I'm asking.
I'll answer your question.
Okay.
It was not a part of the original referendum, and it was all oriented and based out of this building that you bought with the property. So that's why we kept track of it, so we could reimburse it from LTFM funding at the end.
Because it's an existing building, so
Right.
we can use that.
Right.
Okay.
You're just moving it from one bucket to another for clarification purposes because of the bonding.
And
Okay.
with that number of line items, to have moved it every time would have been pretty cumbersome, and we really had to move on a lot of them. Like, we found out that that water line was not at the elevation that it was on the original plans for this existing building, so we had to insulate it right away. So we did that work, tracked it, and just kept track of that accounting until now.
Kept the project more streamlined, more efficient, more cost effective that way, so.
Because you had all the guys here.
Yep.
And Spencer he knows this when he was doing his budgeting for LTFM.
And board members, let me add, you don't have to do this. However, if you don't do this, what'll happen is that we'll have to it'll be on the general construction, and we'll have to make up $301,000 somewhere, and it'll get shifted off of North Star probably, because the high school is done. If you do it this way, it's a different pool of money that we absolutely can use on existing buildings that we currently own. So it's maybe a smarter use of your money down the road.
And in discussions, because you've got buildings that you're going to be moving out of, and you're trying not to spend much deferred maintenance on those buildings because you're moving out, to repurpose that funding for something that you're going to be in a long time, meaning this administrative building, it makes a lot of sense that way.
And we're getting,
Your decision.
LTFM money for this building already, right?
Correct.
Well, not just this building.
Well, I'm just saying, this particular building.
And the ones you're in currently, and if you don't spend it there, you can spend it here because you're going to have this for a longer time period.
Yeah.
We also have the James Madison building that's getting LTFM money too in Virginia, that the NLC is in. We've got things that are needed on that building too, if we continue to own it.
Go ahead, Pete.
Okay, the actual amendment, so this is very similar to what you see at the quarterly reports. This is just a history of how we really started. Going to the current amount of $98 million on the total referendum, all projects. And this is that breakdown that I mentioned earlier on our spreadsheet that we go over with Spencer once a month, beginning of the month, and we go through these items. And we went through this deferred maintenance dollar amount as well. So he's got that full list of items that you just saw. And the previous amount, as Pat mentioned, that was approved for the wrestling space, the 699,000. Now with the 301, comes to a total of $1 million in the deferred maintenance. You can see that's in the high school column. So you can see that we're reimbursing the high school because that's where all the work took place out of those contracts. And then just the total down at the bottom, the 198 million for the whole referendum.
That 1 million is not, it's under the column of the high school deferred maintenance.
That's where
That's
we did
in-
all the work on this building.
Yep.
Was under that project.
Okay, even though it
We
says,
wrote change orders to the contractors on the high school project to perform the work in this building. So that's why it would reimburse the high school column where all that money came from.
And that's why we need to do that today, so we can get your final accounting for the quarterly report. We need to even those accounts out, one for one now.
but even though it's under the the high school column in green, that work is being done on this building. That's the 300-some thousand.
But Polly, when we pass this, it'll move from being on the high school, it'll be moved into
Deferred maintenance,
deferred maintenance on this building. It's just to clarify and keep the accounting straight on the new high school.
Keeps the books straight for auditors if they want to look at where the money came from.
So when you have deferred maintenance, is that for the North Star current and the blue, that 1.73 million? Is that part of this package we're talking about too? Because that's talking about deferred maintenance, and that's a new building.
Yeah, but that's not in this amendment. No, that was previous.
But Pete, why don't you talk a little bit about what that is, just so she understands?
What
The
that was.
rebranding of the existing gym.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So on the North Star project, deferred maintenance funds were able to be used in the existing gym.
Okay.
So all the rebranding, floor refinishing,
It's real
structural
similar,
repairs, roof.
real similar to here, right? We got a big high school that's built all the way around this building, so things had to happen to this existing building. That's deferred maintenance. You got North Star, which is bumped up against the existing gym, did work in there, that's deferred maintenance. It helps, really helps stretch your funding, and it works out quite well.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete.
So anytime we've added funding to the project for additional scope items or whatever it may be, we typically do an amendment to reconcile the different general conditions, site services, reimbursables, and the CM fee for that added funding, all based on our contract with the district. So in this case, we have general conditions, site services, and CM fee being added to the project in a total of just under 80.
So for my refresh and for any newer board members, go through, would you please, the 1 through 4 and what those mean? Site services, general conditions, and the fee is just a 2% fee.
So the general conditions are your dumpsters, toilets, temporary enclosures, winter conditions, snow removal, those kind of items. The CM fee, self-explanatory, it's a 2% fee that KA gets per the contract on added funding. The site services is my time, Patrick's time, so PM, superintendent, project coordinators, accounting, safety, all of those individuals. That's our site services, our admin time. And then reimbursables is very similar to the general conditions. Per the contract, certain items were pulled out as general conditions and put as reimbursables. So miscellaneous expenses for random screws and nails that you might have to go buy at Menards to do some temp enclosures. So those kind of items.
Okay, thank you.
And that's just a further breakdown to show each project for each amendment. So leave a wrench in, nothing happening there, that's complete. We All of the changes are happening in the high school column to stay in that high school column where it got reimbursed. And then nothing on the demo right now and nothing on North Star for this one.
Board members get that? Oh, okay. Right.
Okay, any final questions? We'd ask for approval.
So can I get a motion to approve contract amendment number 8?
So moved.
Support.
Our motion by Johan, support by Director Reardon. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Passes 6-1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Board.
Guys.
6.1, auditorium rental fees at Rockridge High School Performing Arts Center. Mr. Tucker Nelson.
Here is it.
I don't think it's on a, I don't think it's a 3-minute thing.
It's not a visitor input.
No, it's on
Right.
the. So you go ahead, mister.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
Well, good evening, board members and Dr. Schmidt. Most of you know me, but I don't believe I know Director Westby. For the audience here and online, I'm Tucker Nelson. I'm a Virginia resident speaking on behalf of Mesabi Musical Theater, which is a local nonprofit that began at Evelyn Gilbert High School's Boardman Auditorium. And I serve as their artistic director, which is perhaps a loftier title than the position really entails. I produce their musicals. It's not my day job, it never will be. It's something I do because I like it. And we are somewhat unique in that we are a semi-transient organization. We aren't the Duluth Playhouse or the Rife Center where we have a permanent space to perform. We have typically performed at Boardman Auditorium or at the theater at Mesabi Range College, but since the referendum was first proposed, we've been looking forward to having our home base be the Performing Arts Center at Rockridge High School. And that's what I'd like to briefly speak about tonight and explain who we are and why we want to perform there, and have a dialogue with you about how that can be financially feasible, not just for us, but for other nonprofits in the area and some for-profit entities that hope to use that space as well. So our first production was in 2002. I was in Mrs. Borovich's kindergarten class at Franklin, if you want to do some math. And at that time, we were a collaborative effort among local high schools. For a while, we were financially affiliated with Mesabi Range College, but for about 10 years, we've been our own independent nonprofit. And some of the musicals that we've produced that you may have seen include The Sound of Music, Chicago, My Fair Lady. Our most recent large-scale production was Matilda at Evelyn Gilbert in 2019. And our relationship with the former Evelyn Gilbert district was vital to our success, and we've had many staff members from the Virginia School District participate in our productions, both on stage and as production staff. And the Performing Arts Center at Rockridge is the only place we want to perform long-term. Personally, I've been involved in various productions at Greenway, Chisholm, Mountain Iron Buell, Virginia, Evelyn Gilbert, Mesabi East, and those are all great auditoriums. But we're not here because we're shopping around for a place to perform. Those auditoriums in those different cities serve their purpose, but they're not what you and the voters have built right across the parking lot. The facility's orchestra pit, the audiovisual equipment, lighting capabilities, and stage rigging simply aren't found anywhere else nearby. And it's centrally located for our audience. Seating capacity is ideal. The facility is accessible. Unloading and loading equipment is far better than anything we could ask for at Evelyn Gilbert or Virginia. And there's ample parking. And another reason that we would like to perform there is because we directly participated in the design process through community design team meetings. And we greatly appreciate that opportunity. Many MMT representatives were there to provide input on size and backstage amenities such as rigging, what the space should have in terms of a lighting and sound booth. And that has allowed us to give very valuable input, which we believe was incorporated into the Performing Arts Center's design. Most of us involved with the organization directly have seen the Performing Arts Center, and it was hard to imagine that it would be that impressive. And speaking for myself at least, it renewed our desire to perform there. And we recognize the resources that have gone into that space, and that it is standard practice to charge organizations a fee to use a performing arts center like that, or almost any space within a school. But per current rental prices, 5 3-hour rehearsals would cost $1,875. And for just under that amount, we could hire 4 additional musicians, which would be required for slightly larger musicals than what we've done in the past, such as The Music Man or Fiddler on the Roof. And for that same amount and more, we could offer larger stipends for production staff. Paying the daily rental rate for the 6 performances we have planned for this summer would cost more than our combined budget for sets, lights, props, costumes, tickets, and programs. We co-signed a letter in May 2019, a letter to the editor of the Mesabi Daily News supporting the referendum because of the opportunities it would give to performing arts organizations. We wrote, the PAC at a new high school would allow for an expansion of already existing programs, translating to more performances and events, and therefore more economic impact for the communities of Gilbert, Eveleth, and Virginia. We will have the finest performance hall in the region, a lobby that doubles as an art gallery and multi-use rehearsal spaces. A new performing arts center will capture the spirit and strengths of the old auditoriums with 21st century design. Please help us continue to do what we love, perform for you in the space where we can truly thrive. And quite frankly, with the prices that have been approved to use the space, we can't perform there. And that applies not only to Mesabi Musical Theater. I've spoken with representatives from other nonprofits and local businesses who would love to use that space but can't. Barb Baldrica, who is a member of the Arrowhead Concert Association, has said that the rental prices would put a huge burden on the Concert Association's budget. And currently, they use Goodman Auditorium several times throughout the year to bring in traveling acts, usually concerts. I also spoke with Amber Johnson, the owner of Downtown Dance Academy in Virginia, who told me that she has never made a profit on recitals, most of which have been held at Goodman, because she doesn't want to charge $50 for family members to watch their children dance. And I don't think $50 per ticket was an exaggeration. She pays approximately $3,000 currently total for the time that she uses Goodman Auditorium, and that for her spring recitals. Mountain Iron Buell charges 75% less for her winter recitals. There are other spaces where her studio and MMT could perform, but it's not this. It's not ideal for many reasons. There's not enough space on stage, backstage, in the audience. Another dance studio, Legacy Studio of Dance in Aurora, has expressed a similar sentiment about this new auditorium. And the owner of that studio is Casey Johnson, who is also on our board. And she typically performs at Mesabi East High School, but would also like to use a bigger venue in the future. But at the current prices, because dance studios would be considered, I assume, because they're businesses in that for-profit category, those prices would be in no way feasible. She says, I will be paying $300 in total for using Mesabi East for our spring recital, which means 2 dress rehearsals and 3 performances. So what we're looking for is some type of modified fee structure that allows us and other groups to use the space and to use it affordably and to be good stewards of our financial resources. so that we aren't spending money simply to be in that space. We can use it to build more elaborate sets, publicize to a wider audience, to bring people to this Performing Arts Center to see what a magnificent space the architects have designed, that the contractors have built. And that is thanks to you. And we appreciate what you've done. And again, we aren't going to another school board saying we want a discount to use your auditorium. We want that one, and we have for several years. And we would like our summer 2023 musical, which is scheduled to be Roald Dahl's Willy Wonka. You're the first people I've told, by the way, publicly. We've secured rights for that production, and we would love to perform it on that stage. So we are hoping, whether that's tonight or in the very near future, to have a conversation about different rate structures. I've done some homework and looked at other high schools across the state, certainly not all of them, but almost all of them have a 3 or 4 tiered structure when they're looking at the types of groups who use the spaces. For example, the first tier would be a school organization. Your high school plays, musicals, concerts, which would use the space for free, going up to the 4th tier, which would be a commercial entity that's located outside of the district. And only Bemidji and Alexandria, of the high schools that I researched, have auditorium fees that are close to what Rockridge has proposed or has approved. Chisholm, for example, charges $300 per performance, and even larger suburban high schools such as Eden Prairie, Wayzata, greater metro area schools such as Winona and Stillwater charge far less, and again at those different tiers, where there's a structure where they're charging per event, where there's a different rate for a rehearsal and for a performance. And that's essentially what we're asking. Otherwise, we won't be able to perform at this Performing Arts Center, and neither will several other groups who have used Evelyn Gilbert and Virginia facilities for several decades. So that's all I have for right now. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have and try to come up with a solution that works for all of us.
Does anybody have any questions for Tucker?
Well, I guess I'd like to see the tier you're talking about, like the structure. Sure. Yeah.
For example, in Eden Prairie, Group 1 or Tier 1 would be district use. Group 2 would be youth organizations, community-based nonprofits, and municipal organizations, which pay $44 per hour for rehearsals and $88 per hour for performances. Group 3, which I believe is what Mesabi Musical Theater would fall into, are nonprofit fundraising events or events that charge admission that would benefit the entire community, community-based non-commercial uses or personal use. And that charge would be $88 per hour for rehearsals and $143 per hour for performances. And then at Group 4 for commercial use, it's $165 an hour for rehearsals, $286 an hour for performances. Another example, Stillwater has a very similar structure for district nonprofits within district boundaries, and youth organizations using the Stillwater High School auditorium is $60 per hour. For nonprofits charging admission and commercial groups that are within the district, they charge $70 an hour, and all other out-of-district groups are $115 per hour. I should also add that nearly every high school I looked at, every district, does charge an additional fee for some type of auditorium technician, a staff member who, as the board has discussed, is responsible for managing that space in terms of lighting and sound equipment. And in the past, we have paid solely for custodial fees when we've used Boardman Auditorium. And that worked very well for us. And perhaps that arrangement isn't feasible. But I do want to acknowledge that there are additional charges, such as what the board discussed last month, to add to the fees. So that's generally what those tiers are. At Denfeld High School, which is the more expensive of the two high school auditoriums in Duluth, has a commercial and a non-commercial rate. There are some districts that have just 3 classes. Wayzata, for example, has Class A for city associations, district nonprofits, and community individuals, where they charge $30 an hour. And that goes up to $100 per hour for a for-profit group.
So Tucker, since you've done all that footwork and homework and everything, we are going to have a committee meeting later this week, and if you've got that all put together, that'd be real helpful for that discussion.
I'd be happy to share that. And again, there may be districts that charge more than Bemidji and Alexandria. I tried to look at districts of a similar size, of an even bigger size, to see what they charge. But I can definitely share this information with you.
And I personally think it's reasonable for us to take a look at what we have now, because, you can massage anything. You can always massage things, and so we might have to massage this. Plus, the technician that you talked about, I was going to bring it up, but you did anyway, because with our new equipment and lighting and sound system and everything, nobody, not anybody can just step in there and know what to do, and then that's thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment, so we have to safeguard that too. So that probably will come under this technician fee stipend or whatever, so.
And our meeting is early next week, not later this week, just to clarify.
I'd appreciate if you just sent it to the whole school board, just under one email if you want.
Yeah, that's great.
Send it to me first, I'll send it to them.
Right. And I think, to coattail what Paulie said, having multiple people running that sound equipment, in other words, if something happens, that person can't make it, he falls ill, well, we can't having multiple people knowing how to operate the equipment is essential. So.
And from what I recall Mr. Hazelton saying at the February 13th board meeting, whoever came up with the prices had consulted with other districts, and for facilities like gymnasiums and fields, the prices do seem pretty on par with what other districts charge. When you go to the auditorium, Rockridge is pretty high up there in the state based on what I've found. And I understand that it's a brand new auditorium that is nothing like what we have currently. However, I'm afraid that the people who most want to use it and will be best suited for it and will get the most benefit from it will be priced out of being able to use it.
Currently, what do we charge for Roosevelt or Evelyn? What are you paying?
Well, I know, again, in the past, when Mesabi Musical Theater has used Boardman Auditorium, we've only paid custodial fees. For any time that a member of the custodial staff or multiple have had to be in the building after hours, on weekends, we've covered those costs. The exact numbers we'd have to look back and find, because it's varied over the years. We've never used any other former Evelyn Gilbert space besides Boardman, and we've never used Goodman Auditorium. But to use Downtown Dance Academy as an example, for their dress rehearsals and performances, they're paying $3,000 total.
You guys did all the lighting? You were responsible for all the lighting and stuff?
Yes, and some of that is because some of our production staff were already very familiar with the equipment, because they were Evelyn Gilbert staff.
Okay.
But we have also had lighting and sound staff at Boardman and at Mesabi Range College who weren't affiliated with the Evelyn Gilbert district at all. Our current lighting and sound designer, Dustin Davidson, I believe knows more about the lights and sound equipment at Hibbing High School than, I don't want to say all, but some of the staff there, simply because he spent so much time with it. And I'm not suggesting that Dustin could come in and run the lights and sound board completely on his own without ever having looked at it before. But you're right, that is, we have been a lot more familiar with the equipment in the spaces we've used.
Okay.
I appreciate all the work you put into looking into that.
And I want to make sure that
The prices we're charging are feasible for people in our communities as well. And I like the idea of the tiered system too.
I mean, so I think we should go back to the activities.
And it's on the agenda for next week, so I think that's
Okay, all right.
we're off to a great start there, so.
Okay.
And the final thing that we would ask the board and district staff to think about is if, for whatever reason, the new high school isn't a possibility for this summer, would Boardman Auditorium still be available? And preferably at a lower rate than what the new building would be, since again, we are familiar with that equipment and the space just isn't as nice. But I don't know how feasible that will be with teachers and equipment being moved out of that building into the new one. But it's a space we're familiar with, and as much as we would like to perform Willy Wonka on the new stage, we are open to Boardman, but it's Plan B far down the list.
We will get you in there.
If you don't have any other questions for me, I thank you very much for adding me to the agenda and for allowing me to provide some more background information.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tucker. 6.2 Treasurer's Report. How did you want to handle that Treasurer's Report?
It's how you want to do it. Spencer told me he's got some information for you, and then he'll present the more detail that you've asked him to at the other board meeting of the month. So once a month, you'll get what you've asked him with more details. The other one will be more of what you're used to seeing so far.
It's like, because at the last meeting, we accepted the Treasurer's Report for the first check writing of the month. Okay? Now,
Correct.
Now we got the second,
Just gonna approve the payments, is that all you gotta do here?
yeah. Is it to approve the payments? The
Yes,
treasurer-
that's what Spencer would like you to do.
Okay, all right. So 6.2, can I get a motion to approve the payments / Treasurer's Report?
I move.
Support.
Support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion?
I just want to make sure that Nicole is aware of what she needs to be doing, because I think somebody needs to just kind of give her guidance to, whether it's Spencer or Noel, just kind of let her know what she's going to do at each
I'll
meeting.
have Spencer contact
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Because how we did it in Ellis Gilbert is how you did it
The
last
last,
time.
yeah.
And we did
Is that necessary?
Well,
don't know.
I mean, I agree that, just reading off the bank totals or whatever is sufficient for one of the meetings, and maybe the second meeting, if Spencer wants to come and give more detail. So then, he'll give an update maybe, and you'll give an update at the other meeting. But as long as somebody's giving you some guidance and
Oh, that'd be great.
what is
Yeah,
expected from
absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 6.3, Principal's Report. Mr. Grippentrog.
This is kind of the hot seat today.
Yeah.
So, good evening, members of the board, Dr. Schmidt. Happy spring. It's been in spring for a week, according to the calendar. At least that's what my kids told me. And we are melting off some snow, so spring is on the way. Third quarter ends this Friday for the high schools. And believe it or not, we'll be starting quarter 4 then next week. Couple of things to report on. A couple weeks ago, we had an anti-bullying magician and ventriloquist come and speak to our 7th through 9th grade students. He had a fun message, and it was a great reminder for our students to treat each other with respect and kindness. We also are doing some follow-up in the classrooms with our counselor, Elissa Bowe, so thank her for doing that. The magician's name was Kevin Celine. He's been doing it for 50-some years, so it's kind of a nice program to lighten our day. Contact your neighborhood senior for a spaghetti feed ticket. They're $10 a piece. It's for the fundraiser for the all-night grad party. The event for the spaghetti feed is April 16th, 4 to 7 p.m. Ticket sales are going on this week, so contact your local senior if you're interested in getting some tickets for that. Last week we had some concerns come up about bathroom use at Evelyn Gilbert High School, and I just wanted to take a minute to talk about that with the board. We do have currently 5 sets of bathrooms that are open for students, and one particular bathroom on Thursday, March 16th, we did have locked during classes throughout the day. However, we did open that bathroom up, and we had it available between passing times, which is 5 minutes. It was monitored by a staff as well as myself throughout the day. And we didn't really have any students miss an opportunity to use the restroom if they needed to, because we did have 3 bathrooms open throughout the day. I do want to just mention we are monitoring our bathrooms very closely. Some students have been going in there to not use the bathroom. They've been going in to hang out, chit chat with their friends, spray body perfume, and perhaps even a few vapors have found their way into our restrooms. However, we are monitoring that closely, and anyone who has been caught doing that has been disciplined with our student handbook. So just wanted to make mention of that. And moving forward into our new school, we are having many staff work on our climate and culture, making sure that our new school is positive and respectful. We will be posting signs throughout the new high school, talking about positive expectations for students germane to each area throughout our campus. I can't thank the people who are working on that enough. It's going to be an awesome place. We're super excited about the future of Rockridge High School. So, and also I just wanted to add, if anybody has concerns that are things that are going on at school, as always, contact me directly. I'd be happy to talk to parents, students, or anyone who has concerns at any time. So, thank you for that. So upcoming events or things that are going on, we have our NHS induction ceremony, which is rescheduled because of a snow date before break, Monday, April 3rd at Boardman Auditorium. Exciting to induct some new members to the National Honor Society. The Rockridge Drama will be presenting The Odd Couple at the new Rockridge Performing Arts Center, April 20th and 21st at 7 p.m. It's a Thursday and a Friday. And then Saturday, the 22nd at 1 o'clock. It will be at the new Performing Arts Center, and it's going to be an awesome performance. So we're looking forward to that. A couple of things moving into the high school that we're working on. We have 6th graders that will become 7th graders in the new Rockridge High School. And we have several people in the district that are working to plan a day or half a day for those students to go to the new school and visit, do an orientation, team building, talk about expectations in the future of the school. We're excited for that. We're also excited to bring all of our current 7th through 11th grade into transition orientation over there as well. So super exciting times. I can't believe there's only 9 weeks left of school. Couple of other things going on. We have a closing ceremony Thursday, June 1st at Evelyn Gilbert High School at 6 p.m. I look forward to having a ceremony that honors Evelyn Gilbert High School and all its rich history. In 2023, the EGHS graduation ceremony is Friday the 2nd at 7:30 p.m. in the gymnasium. I look forward to seeing you there as well. Super exciting times for graduation. And just a quick note, I want to congratulate Jake Berdach, who's one of our students who was nominated and won the Region 7A AAA award this year. Very prestigious award. Academics, athletics, and the arts. Jake participates in all of those, and he's a top-notch performer. And he did go down to the state basketball tournament, was recognized down there. So we really appreciate that and congratulate him. With that,
I'm jumping in with questions because the bathroom's been a hot topic. And, you know, I've brought it up a couple of times, especially around the idea of having a hall monitor and things. So I reached out to you after seeing some things on Facebook. And so how many bathrooms are in the high school at Evelyn Gilbert?
We have 5 sets of bathrooms.
Okay, and how many have been locked?
We have one currently that's locked, that's just not needed. I mean, 4 bathrooms is more than enough.
So where is the locked bathroom located that you're saying isn't
We have a
needed?
locked bathroom on the 2nd floor in the high school area currently.
Okay. So,
There's one on the 1st floor and the 3rd floor directly above and below the one on 2nd floor that's currently locked. And then there's 2 other down by the gymnasium in that area.
okay. So my question is if we're continuing to have issues with people doing things in those bathrooms, any of the bathrooms that they're not supposed to be doing, how are we handling that? Because I was also told that the person that we were looking at hiring or
A para.
for monitoring the bathrooms is actually getting pulled quite a lot to do para duties, and there isn't actually a person that is monitoring those bathrooms. So my question is, again, do we need to revisit SRO for the Evelyn Gilbert campus?
I can tell you currently that position was posted. I've not yet received any applicants for that, so it's currently open. I'd be welcome to entertain anyone that's interested in getting a position with us. We do have staff members that monitor bathrooms between classes all day long currently.
Okay, because I definitely don't want, I don't want kids being afraid to use the bathroom. And I have heard from a number of students that said that the bathrooms have been locked. And, I've been hearing some things too, and I'm just throwing it all out there right now. But I've also been hearing some things too. We've had a lot of discussions on PSEO and how come we're having so many kids going PSEO. And again, I understand that, there's only a small percentage that are probably reaching out to me or talking to me. So this doesn't represent the whole. But, there has been comments to me that the reason why kids are going PSEO is because of discipline type things and because of things like the bathroom being locked. I know that bathroom is more of a recent thing, but if we're looking at why we're losing kids to PSEO or whatever other reason, I want to make sure that we're doing something about it. We've been here talking a lot about the bathrooms and the bathrooms, having issues. Well, if the hall monitor isn't working out, then we need to figure out what is going to work out.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure, we want to make the bathroom and accommodations for anyone that needs them. We have made special accommodations for individual students who have separate needs. So we do that, and we will continue to monitor it. I welcome any board member, any community member to come in and visit the high school and see how things are going. I think we have, you can hear this and that from certain small groups of people, and you bring up the PSEO. It is a concern, but what we're doing in Rockridge, to me, is that we're coming together. We've built this new facility across the parking lot, and we are going to be attracting students, and it'll be a positive place to be. I'm super excited about that. So, what you hear individually, I would encourage you and anyone to contact me directly. I'd be happy to speak with them and address their concerns.
Yeah, I just know that there's a lot of people concerned because we are going to be all coming together in the high school next year. And, kids, staff, they want to make sure that things are going smoothly prior to that transition. And then the other thing I had written down is those that are caused, I know you can't tell discipline of other students, totally get that. But is there an option of having an escort for the kids that are causing the most problems? Going into that bathroom and causing, it to be locked. Can we have escorts that are bringing them down to the bathroom?
Like I said, we'll make special accommodations for students if need be. I personally spent time in the restroom today between classes just making sure that things are going okay and smoothly in there and kids are using it to go to the bathroom. So,
All right.
I have a question. So is the second level bathroom that's permanently closed, or is that just temporarily closed, or how do you view that?
We don't need it. We don't have enough bathroom usage in the high school with the 4 other restrooms. I mean,
So was the problem that kids just didn't know that, they went to that bathroom and thought all the bathrooms were closed?
it's hard to say the perception of kids. I mean, they see one bathroom closed one day and they might think everything's shut down. What's going on here?
Is there clarification now that they know that all the other bathrooms are open and just that one is closed?
That one's been closed on the second floor since the beginning of school.
Oh, okay.
So, pretty
Okay.
much.
Okay.
Todd, did you say that we posted and advertised for this monitor?
Yes.
At /para, but we haven't gotten anybody, so we still are short of what our intention was, right?
Yes.
Okay, how many hours is that, and what would the pay be? I forget.
29 hours a week.
Okay.
And
Just under,
the ASPE contract is like.
Okay, just under 30 hours.
Off the top of my head, so.
just under 30 hours. I just wonder if that had anything to do with people not wanting to apply.
It's just the same pay grade as any paraprofessional in the district.
And the hours are just under 30 hours?
Yes, 29.
Okay. And then these, what we have now, these are multiple stall bathrooms, but we're going into a new building where they're going to be single closets, water closets, or whatever you want to call that. Are we looking ahead to see what kind of accommodations or problems or warding off problems for totally closed in?
They can't congregate. They can't congregate in the new bathrooms.
We wouldn't know what they're doing behind a closed door either. I don't know if that's better or worse.
Well,
than
we're
multiple
really
stall.
super excited about the new layout as the one-person units. I mean, you've probably seen them in the public in newer facilities these days. And I really do believe that is going to curb any issues, but we will, again, talk about expectations, train the students, and we have very excellent camera coverage throughout the school, so we're excited about that. And it's definitely going to be a change, but a change for the better.
I just thought that the single stall, closed door ones might have their own,
They probably will, but I think it'll be better than it is now.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And if a staff person, like they are now, standing outside the restroom, if some staff person standing nearby, that you would think the likelihood of somebody trying to take advantage of those single stall
Would be less.
would be less.
Do we institute hall passes to go to the restrooms, or we just ask the teacher and they go and then they watch that they come back in a good amount of time?
We have an electronic system now where students will scan a barcode or I can't remember what the name of the square ones are. But anyway, they scan it, it fills in their information, they put the time, and the teacher sees it, and they leave. When they come back, they scan back in. It's all electronic. And this is happening both in Evlith and in Virginia.
Where is the most problem? Is it before school, after school, during lunch?
I would say it's between classes.
Between classes.
If you're going to label something as the most problem. But really, like I said, I don't think we have a lot of problems. There's a few.
Okay.
I know it's not in the budget for another SRO, but I mean, do we need to entertain that as a discussion at a working session, or what's your thoughts?
Yes, it's a topic we're going to have to talk about. Whether we can find an SRO from Evlith or Gilbert is another thing, because I believe they're currently short-staffed. But yes, we will be talking about that possibility.
Okay.
And do you think that would be more helpful than a para?
I would love an SRO in Evlith.
Okay.
This would be great. I do speak with the Evlith Police Department quite regularly, but if we had a dedicated staff, it would be great.
And don't forget the FAIL, they have officers too, so it's not just.
Covered by Evlith.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have one question. Where do I get tickets to the Odd Couple?
I'm not sure where they're available yet or if they're even available.
Okay.
Yet. But there should be plenty of seating and tickets available. So when that comes out, just
Let us
just
know.
watch the Facebook
Okay,
or
sure.
website.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
6.4 superintendent report. I see you get by pretty easy.
I am getting by pretty
Yes,
easy.
you are.
And you'll be excited, Director Addy, to know that the first topic I will briefly talk about is high school bathrooms. Even though I know Mr. Gerpentrog covered it, members of the board, a little bit of perspective here. The high school bathrooms, no matter what high school you go to in the United States, it is the number one problem area. It is always the bathrooms. Virginia High School had problems with the bathrooms before. They shut a whole bunch. I told them to shut them down. They shut them down. Todd and I have talked a number of times about the bathrooms. I was up in Evelyn Gilbert, but the bathrooms today, I know exactly what he's talking about. I was in the hallway, a bunch of kids turned to the bathroom on the second floor. Somebody said it's locked. This is what I heard next. Okay. That was it. There were probably about 25 kids around at the time. I walked in unexpectedly. Todd was right in front of the bathroom on the first floor outside of the office. That we do have a hall monitor there. There's one there already. We're looking for a second one. It's the second one we can't find. There is one there right now, but the bathrooms have always been a problem. High schools all over the state always close the bathrooms down when the problems, and it used to be smoking in the boys' room. Remember the old song, Smoking in the Boys' Room? That just drove principals crazy. And then they come up with all sorts of things to stop smoking. So this is not new. It did affect Virginia High School. It just happened this year in Evelyn Gilbert High School. They're closing the bathroom down, which is appropriate. And then unfortunately, some people heard that a bathroom was closed and immediately leapt to the island of conclusions that all bathrooms were closed and nobody could go to the bathroom. Nobody bothered to call us to ask us whether any of this was true. It was not true at all. And of course, then people started writing about it and sending things as if it were true, and none of it was true. There always have been multiple bathrooms open in Evelyn Gilbert High School, and they really don't need all those bathrooms. That second floor, the one that was closed, if you're standing there on any given hour, there are maybe 5 classes in operation at any one given time. They just don't need those same number of bathrooms. So of course we're going to close them if we don't need them. But I don't want to diminish this at all. It is an issue. We are trying to get a handle on it. They are trying to get it by restricting. This is what we did at Virginia High School. This is what every high school all across the United States does when these problems show up. They restrict access. They get tougher on passes. They close bathrooms down until kids start getting the message to stop messing around in the bathroom. They suspend some kids. They discipline kids. They do escort some kids to the bathroom. We've had kids who they cannot go to the bathroom without an escort. That's just the way life is. You sometimes have to do this. It is difficult finding paras to do this job. It's not their most loved para position. So it is one of our tougher para positions to go. We do thankfully have some teachers who go into the bathroom voluntarily just every once in a while. There's nothing like showing up unexpectedly and seeing what's going on. That also helps knock down any kind of an incident rate that goes. I know our SRO is in the audience right now. I see him. He was standing right outside the bathroom many a time. He would walk into the bathroom many a time, just walk in there just to see what's happened, because we can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we are trying to make it better. We do understand that people are concerned about it. We do understand that kids are worried about it. And we always have, there are ways that any kid who is specifically concerned about something, we do this right now. We've always had kids who are worried about, they go to the bathroom in the nurse's office. They go to the bathroom in special other places for a whole variety of different reasons that I'm not even going to go into that have nothing to do with fear of bathrooms, etc. That is just kind of normal, what happens in a high school. But so I just want to let the board know we are aware of it. We've never had all those bathrooms closed at any one time. And I would just encourage the public, if you hear a rumor or hear something, just call us. Just call the principal, call me, call somebody, and just ask if something is true. Anything else on that topic or from any board members? I think we kind of talked about bathrooms.
I have, now, the high school, I don't know how that's set up, but I know in the younger grades that the boys and girls share the bathrooms. So there's some issues in that sense too, that we might have to look at where kids don't want to go into the bathroom, i.e. girls mostly.
I heard about that, and
Yeah.
I've also been told, though, that in the beginning that was an issue, but as time has gone on, it's improved.
Okay.
So I think teachers are checking to make sure that things are clean when somebody comes out and things like that. But I've heard that that's improved a little bit, so.
And this, for example, this is how the teachers had to change their procedures. For example, they now have them line up. I'm just using this as a for example. Student goes in there, uses the bathroom. Next kid goes in there. If it's not okay, say something right away. Well, we know who the perpetrator is. It's pretty easy. And then we can intervene right away. The teacher can intervene right away. And the reality of this is we have kids who need to learn how to use a bathroom. I'm not making this up. They need to learn how to use a bathroom. So we have to change our procedures and go, what do? Lift up the seat, aim, things like this. This is what we have to do. This is what elementary teachers have to do. And we just have to do it a little bit differently. But it is a concern, I get it. But the general supervision, especially in the high school, is going to be so much easier because you can see kids just can't mess around. And if they can maybe stuff 2 of them in one of those stalls or 2 or 3 of them, but we're going to eventually know about it. They can stuff 16 in a bathroom now, and we're just going to have way fewer problems. And that's what's happened with schools who have gone to especially in the high school, the kind of bathrooms they're going to.
So what do you mean by we have shared bathrooms?
Boys and girls are using the same bathroom.
Are those individual?
Like water.
For the individual.
Yeah.
Individual stalls? Okay, it's like a unisex bathroom, huh?
Yeah.
Do we have more than one there, or just one there?
It's like 6.
There's multiple.
And there's a handicapped one or a
Yeah.
special needs one.
Yeah.
So why could we not designate 3 boys, 3 girls, and 1 unisex?
That's kind of what they were thinking of a solution when Brandy and I when we walked through, because it seemed indicative of most teachers. That was like the big problem at the time. Like everyone was having issues with it.
That's what they do at Parkview.
Yeah.
The Parkview has one outside the cafeteria. The teacher lines, like Dr. Schmidt says, lines the kids up on the wall, all the boys here, all the girls there. The girls have a separate bathroom, but it's the same format. And what they do is they let 2 kids in, or 3 kids in at a time, and there's always a para in there with them. And then when one goes out, the para brings another one in, and so it works really well.
Okay, so, but we're talking about the high school now, right?
We were talking about.
No,
Elementary school.
yeah, it was elementary,
So
yeah.
all of them are not unisex at this point?
In the elementary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all,
One stall,
Okay.
door.
Okay, so why don't we consider that, right? 3, 3, and 1, or if we have 6, or however, divide them up. That
The high
boys and the
school you're
girls
talking
don't-
about, or?
Well, whatever we're talking about here, you said the elementary, right?
It was the elementary, yeah.
At the elementary, can't we just make a decision to designate that? So at least you have.
I don't think that we have to do an official. I think that it sounded like they're handling it themselves.
Yeah, and like I said, from what I was told, because I was just recently in the school, and from what I was told, it's improved. And again, I'm only hearing from a few, not the majority, so I don't know if it's the majority's thought that it's improved, but I did get feedback that that's.
It's something new too, and it takes time to get.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we're done talking about
Okay,
bathrooms?
let's talk about something else.
Yeah.
Closing ceremonies, just to let the board know, We do have 2 high schools that we are closing. And just as we did last year, we will have official closing ceremonies. You can see what the dates are. For Evelyn Gilbert High School, it will be June 1st at 6 p.m. And for Virginia High School, it will be May 25th at 5:30 p.m. And we are intentionally not having them at the same time. So if someone wants to attend both or needs to do something at either one, they can attend both.
So are these in the auditoriums of both schools?
No, not necessarily. Wait for
Yeah.
additional details.
All right.
I can tell by your gleam that you would love to be a speaker.
No.
At least one of them.
No, I just,
So-
people ask, I mean, they're
Well,
gonna, where it's at, how long they can expect to be there,
30 minutes, about 30 minutes.
Okay.
We'll try and hit that sweet spot, 30 to 40 minutes. That's what we did last year.
Right, very good.
And so just letting the board know, those are coming up, and those are important, because even with the hubbub of the new high school, we have to keep in mind, we are closing 2 high schools down, and there's emotions attached with those 2 buildings. People they lived there.
I feel
practically
emotional about it, absolutely.
Well, I was
Yeah,
there a part
I
of one in
do.
Gilbert. It was emotional for me.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, it just always is. Whenever one door closes, it's always emotional, but we'll be excited when the other door opens.
Okay,
And there will be some legal things we will need to do, so you're going to get involved in those. I'll let you know probably what those are in the next board meeting coming up to officially close the building. Then moving on to the next part is we also have an opening ceremony that we will do before the closing ceremonies. That official date will be Thursday, May 11th at 5 p.m. And this will be the opening, the official opening of the Rock Ridge. The basketball games were just a teaser. We might do something on the outdoor athletic fields yet, but this is the big one. So this one will be a big hoopla. We'll invite people. We'll make sure we have something for folks to snack on, maybe eat on. But I'm going to give the board notice that this is the day that we will officially have our grand opening ceremony. And we'll make sure we have some kind of music, dancing. We'll have some, how do we get here, some speeches. Director Addy, you can start getting your speech ready as the board chair. And some other individuals talking, because this has been a long road. When this whole started, there's been a lot that's happened in these communities over a long period of time. So just want to let the board know about the opening ceremony. Any questions from board members about ceremonies?
who's going to be heading up that ceremony, the opening ceremony? So if I have concerns, I can contact them, like say in regard to. the
Either
honor- the
myself
honor
or
guard.
Mark Winter.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Next one up, and I think Mike's going to show the screen up there. This one I put in there. This is relevant, especially because what I'm about to talk about on the budget things, and you're not making any decisions on budget things, not asking you to do that. This is for information. Now, I did not create this chart. This chart came from the MREA, and you can, Minnesota Rural Education Association, of which we are members. And they got it from Ellers in the lower left-hand corner, and you remember that name because they're one of our major finance groups that we work with on the bond, the referendum, and anything we're borrowing debt-wise with OPEB, et cetera. Ellers gets involved. This is an interesting chart because I'm sure you probably hear in the community people saying things like, why can't you keep your budget? Why are you spending so much money? Why are you fill in the blank with why are you wasting money, or why can't you run your budget? This is really interesting because the blue line starts at 2000 and trying to read it from a distance. Three.
Yeah.
And it shows what inflation, we get X number of dollars. It's called the per pupil unit. And the state of Minnesota gives it to all school boards all across the state of Minnesota to run the school district. And it used to be, follow the blue line up. You don't even have to follow the numbers. That's following inflation. Normal inflation, had that number been adjusted, that's where the blue line would have been. And the last 2 years, you see a bigger jump. That's because of COVID inflation. The dotted red line, that's what you really got. That's what the state of Minnesota actually gave schools all over the state of Minnesota. Now, you don't have to be a statistics PhD candidate to figure this one out. A third grader could look at this chart and tell you that they don't match. And the third grader could probably tell you that you don't have as much money as you used to have. And the reality is that even if you take off the last 2 years because of COVID inflation, because that was extreme, when you look at it, you realize that you as a school board here right now, you have less money than the school board did in 2003. You're supposed to do the same job. You actually have more mandates. You have more requirements. You have less money to spend to get all those things done. In fact, how much are you spending? Getting less, taking off the last 2 years, the COVID years. Don't even count COVID inflation. Cut it off at 2001 or so. If you had the same amount of money in 2003, today, adjusted for inflation, you would have $1.4 million more dollars in your budget. $1.4 million. That's what school boards way back when had, you don't have. And you're supposed to do the same thing. If you had that money, we would not even be talking about budget adjustments. Wouldn't even be talking about them. Nor would you be talking about them next year, nor would you have been talking about them last year. You wouldn't have been talking about them. However, that's not the reality of the situation. So I think it's also good for citizens to understand this, that you as a school board, you are dealing with less money than what school boards in the past were dealing with, and you have to make some hard decisions that school boards 15 years ago, they never had to make. They simply did not have to make those decisions, but you do. Which leads into the next thing for me to talk about is to, as you know, at the school board meeting, last meeting, we talked about budget. Spencer talked about some budget parameters, asked you if the budget parameters were agreed with. The Finance Committee did meet, School Board Finance Committee. They talked about the same thing. Spencer went over the same numbers as the full school board saw. So I met with the principals for multiple meetings to talk about, okay, the reality of the situation is we're not in 2003, we're in 2023. What can we recommend to the school board? Because that's what our job is, to start making recommendations. You as a board. Now, you as a board will ultimately need to make a decision on what to do, but you also have one. So this is our kind of thinking right now, and we will have to have another finance committee meeting, and it will come back to the full school board for more conversation, because this is going to take a little while. There's one good thing about all of this is that we know we have a way that we do not have to reduce any tenured teachers. This is critical, because if you did, I would be coming here with names of people tonight that you would legally have to give them legal paperwork before April 1st. That's how it works with tenured teachers. With non-tenured and other staff, that deadline doesn't exist. However, this is going to be hard on some people because you cannot reduce your budget without impacting employees. You can't. So here's what are, at this minute in time, some areas to look at as far as budget reductions go. And this is shifting money around to make sure your budget breaks even. And remember, this is trying to reduce the budget by half. So we're not showing you right now if you had to take all of the cuts. This is going for half of the cuts. Here's what you could do. 200,000 of it could simply come from, we just simply don't rehire teachers who are retiring. Those are some of the easier ones to do because it doesn't really impact someone else.
But it depends on where they are and what they teach, right?
It does.
Okay, so that's
It does, but
that's not
in the
necessarily.
big scheme of everything, it's still easier relatively.
So that
Not everybody would agree with that.
not,
Right.
that might not be able to happen. Go ahead.
This would impact 2 non-tenured teachers, and according to Spencer, he said for our purposes here, assume about 100,000 total for each teacher. That includes benefits, TRA, everything else. There's additional costs you as a board have beyond the salary. Now, this happens because with the tenured teachers, it's called stranding. Based on licensure, if we can give a tenured teacher a job, we legally have to. It's called the stranding rule, named after a teacher from the Twin Cities who won a legal case. And so now it impacts every school board since then. So in order to keep all our tenured teachers, it does strand 2 non-tenured teachers. And I'm specifically and deliberately not giving you any names here right now, because that's not what this is about. This is just showing you, here's how you can get to the number. In addition to this, we have 0.8 unlicensed teachers. And we really need licensed teachers. And if you don't have the license, there is a process you can do for a period of time, but you can't do that forever. And so simply going with the licensed teacher, you've got $80,000 there. There's a shift we can do to move from regular ed into title funding. Title funding is a separate source. So you would save the money by moving approximately a 3/8 shift from regular ed into title funding. In addition, that's what would happen with the teachers. With the other employees, if we went down 5 paras district-wide at some undetermined location right now, it would be about $52,000. The reason why it's not more than that is the state of Minnesota does reimburse us about 67% of the special ed para cost, so you don't bore all of it.
But paras are tied to students, so how can you reduce 5 paras unless you have 5 students that don't need one?
Because what we're trying not to do, and the NLC is trying to encourage case managers is to not assign one-to-one pairs to all students. We do have some students who they probably don't need a one-to-one para. They can function okay in some classes. They're okay. We do need them in some other classes, however.
Don't parents have to sign off on those IEPs though?
Yes, but the decision to, like, how many minutes a certain student has, it's an IEP decision.
Right.
And so starting at that, and then we've also talked to some of our teachers, and they are telling us directly, I don't need that many paras.
That's not a teacher's call.
It's not a teacher's call, but we do talk to teachers, and our principals do talk to teachers about topics like this to get the opinion of the teachers. And so.
Well, that's going to depend on if the parents go along with it. So that, just go ahead and move on.
No, parents do not have to go along with this.
IEP, a number of minutes?
No, with the IEPs, but
Yes.
you do not need parent agreement to reduce by 5 paras.
Well, no, I didn't mean that. You know I didn't mean that. But you need in the IEPs about.
On the IEPs, yes.
And that is tied to the paras.
Right, but we have many para IEPs that do not say one-to-one para time.
Yeah.
And then, for example, if a student is learning disabled in reading, they're learning disabled in reading. They're not learning disabled in Phi-Ed. They're not learning disabled in art. So you don't send a para with that student normally to those other classes.
So one para can then be with several different
students, yes.
Well, we should be doing that right now, but, we should be doing that right now. They only have a para when they need the para according to their IEP.
Correct.
So are you saying that we have paras that we don't need right now?
No, I'm saying that we need to work with our case managers to write accurate IEPs and with parents so they truly reflect what students actually need. For example, if I go in and watch a classroom, I shouldn't see 3 pairs doing nothing while the whole class is doing something with the teacher for 60 minutes.
Do you see that happening now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to say just what I have heard, and teachers have reached out to me, and it seems like they want more help and more paras. So
It's an increase in behavior.
yeah, and so I'm a little bit not computing this.
So part of it with the paras is it's where the paras are. And so part of it is being smart about where the paras go, and they're going to the highest need areas. And I can't fault any teacher for saying, I want more help. I need more people. I'm just saying we need to realign money. This is one possible area.
And our special ed teachers, well, wait, you're talking about the caseloads? And we have to watch that we don't put too high of caseloads on our people either, because we've had as high as 30 some. I know you don't have the kid all day, a full classroom of kids all the time, but those caseloads can get pretty hefty too, and they do way more paperwork than, I'm not putting regular classroom teachers down, but they do. They've got all kinds of.
They do.
And so that's another part of that formula.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Currently, we do not have any special ed teachers that have a caseload of 30.
Wow.
Caseload sizes, because we just talked about this, range from 11 to, the highest ones are low 20s right now. In a perfect world, you'd like them, depending what the disability is, it varies. Because you need more pairs with some students and fewer para time with others. But that's where our case sizes are right now.
17 is pretty maxed out, I think, is what I've been told.
The para cut is the biggest concern for me too.
Well, it doesn't seem like a good use of funds if we're getting reimbursed so much. If you're cutting 5 and only saving 50,000, doesn't seem like a worthwhile trim, in my opinion.
Yep.
Right.
Well, I can tell you that it wasn't last year, it was the year before, they decreased the paras in the high school, and how they did it is when a para, just what he was talking about, the person needed help in math and in social studies, so the para went with them, and then when the person went to the lunchroom and went to the Phi Ed and other classes, that para went to another student, and so that para was working with multiple students during the day, and that's how they trimmed it in Virginia last year.
I feel bad for whoever has to schedule that, because the amount of paras that end up not, sick and not being at work and trying to finagle who's going where, that it's a scheduling nightmare. So I have a harder time with the para.
Okay, so this is just so you know.
Preliminary.
Rough draft.
Yep.
You tell
Very
me,
rough draft.
just so you know, this is how this works. If you tell me you don't want to reduce any paras, I'm going to ask you, okay, where do you want to get the 52,000 from? That's where this is going.
I would say we went over $90,000 in our publishing, so I think that's worth at least one teacher or many parents. So there are other places we can look to cut. That's one big one for me.
And we will have those numbers for the finance committee. I just talked to Spencer about getting those numbers. So you'll have them to take a look at. Next area down there, and I do clearly recognize we have clerical members in the audience, would be we are coming to one high school next year from 2 high schools, would be to reduce the number of clerical folks that we have. And if that were to happen, that would be approximately $105,000. Next one after that, we did have a retirement from a media aide, and so this would be a situation to not replace media aide, and because we also are going to one high school. So that would be another possibility. So all total, when you add all of these up, if this is exactly what happened, it's about $711,000, which is more than what Spencer is recommending you reduce. However, there are some adjustments that also need to be made at the same time. because we're shifting resources. We are going into a career academy, we are going into one high school, and so under the budget additions, things that the board for to consider, in talking to the principals, we believe there's a 0.8 specific subjects, probably art and science, where we're going to have to look for someone in those two areas that we don't currently have. We're going to have to look for someone. So you could be in a kind of a strange situation where you're advertising for certain positions, but then reducing in some others. This is actually, unfortunately, kind of common when you get to the budget reductions, because sometimes they don't happen in the areas where you would like them to happen. It just doesn't happen sometimes. But so they're saying we do need 0.8. In addition to that, you also heard that we about the high school auditorium. We do believe we are going to need to hire someone or a cluster of people. Maybe it's an hourly basis. Personnel committee will have to talk about this. We are going to have, no matter who is in the auditorium, it is absolutely true. We believe we really need our own Rockridge person in that booth all the time, no matter who is using that facility. Because it's, a lot of stuff can get messed up.
How did you estimate that figure, 35,000?
I estimated this one based on if this was an hourly, that we found a cluster of 3 or 4 people who all knew how the auditorium light and sound worked, and that based upon who was coming when we needed them, we would have a number of people. So there'd be some redundancy in the system.
So how many hours did you throw in there? Then I could.
I'm assuming that we're gonna need somebody probably minimum of 20 hours a week in some capacity, because this includes our high school-owned concerts. This includes any elementary, one of our elementary schools, if they do a concert or something in there. Because our directors, they're simply not going, this is way too complicated. They're not going to be able to run the concert and manage the lights and sound.
Is that something that could be like an overload or an overtime for some of our existing people? Don't we have about 4 technology people?
It could put a stipend to it or something like that, give it to someone as a.
Or they take turns, rotate in like the bus drivers and things.
Everything's on the table.
I'm just throwing out some ideas, that's all.
Yep.
Dr. Schmidt, getting back to the budget reductions section, we are going, combining 2 high schools into one. Are there any like duplicate specialized teachers that we're going to have, like, like band directors? We each have one and one, are we going to need 2 band directors, or are we going to need, I just hate to pick on them, but other specialty type teachers that.
Choir.
Yeah.
Now, I'm generalizing right now. I'm not talking about any department. Yes, we're not showing you those right now because those come next. Is that generally what you want to do is the board, you look at the areas to reduce in, and generally you tell me, this is what we want to do, and then we tell you, okay, these are the names of the individuals who are involved, and this is what would happen with certain areas, because keep in mind, I said we're stranding tenured teachers. That means you're going to hear about this. You'll have some tenured teachers who might say, I'm not happy with where I got put. And that might be because of stranding, and so then we'll show you that, who the names are, where they've been stranded to, and some of them will be just fine. They'll be happy, I've got a job, I'm just happy. Others will like where they are, and I just know from experience, some will not be happy about where they were stranded.
So can we get a list at some point of how to make all these movements?
Yes, here's what I would suggest. What I would suggest, now you're the school board, you tell me how you want this to play out. What I suggest is that the finance committee meet, we'll talk about some of the details on this, and then you can tell Spencer and I what you think the committee recommend. Then we'll come back to the board, and then the board makes a decision on we're okay readjusting this much in this area, this much in this area, this much in this area. And then at the next board meeting, we come back and show you, here are the names of the people. Here are the ones involved in it, and this is how it plays out. This is who gets stranded. Sometimes boards choose to, they want to know the names first. So they want to, and I'm going to warn you about that. If you tell me to do it, I'll do it. But then you're going to pit employee against employee, and it's going to be who do we think we like better than this person? And it can make things very uncomfortable for staff members and board members. But we can do it that way if you want to.
I was talking more positions, like to your point of like, we got 2 band teachers. And then we know, what, not to pick on the band teacher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting that.
More the positions.
After the board says, okay, we approve this, or we'd like to make some changes, make these shifts, and then we'll approve that. Then we'll show you the names. That's what I'm suggesting. Now, you can think about it. You don't need to make any decisions right now. That's why we're just showing you this right now.
So going back to the budget reductions, the unlicensed teacher, .8, we have to terminate because there's no license, but are you proposing to replace that .8 with licensed? We have to let them go because they're not licensed. We have to post and advertise to get a licensed. So are you saying you're to replace that .8 or not?
It would be stranding.
We get into the tenured teachers then?
Somebody else would be doing theoretically, yes, somebody else would be doing part of what that individual was doing, and they have the license.
Okay, now you said that April 1st was a drop dead date for
Tenured.
Tenured, but is that really a drop dead date, or is it just that they have enough time so that we can schedule a hearing?
It's a drop dead date.
It is. It's-
State of Minnesota says so. And then what you also want to do as a board, again, you can just tell me how you want this to play out. I would only encourage you to, if you're going to, some staff will lose it. I know they will get jobs elsewhere. It might not be exactly where they want to be, doing maybe not exactly what they want to do, but it's fair to give them as much time as possible. So I would just ask the board to not wait to make a budget decision until June 1st. And try and do it in April so that these individuals have time to look for employment elsewhere if they're impacted directly by it.
And you don't have any admin on here for cuts, for reductions, or for duplication.
And
This is
if
going
you-
into one high school.
Yep, and if you tell me to go admin, I will. I will say this, remember last year,
That was a different admin. I'm talking about principals. Here's what I was
it
thinking.
was, we can do it, you cannot, well, I guess you can. You are not heavy on principals.
Here's what I was thinking, just hear me out. So we have a dean of students at the high school in Virginia. And our high schools now are what? Virginia 9 through 12, Evelyn 9 through 12. What? Now we're going to have 7 through 12 in one building. I'm wondering if we don't not need a dean of students, we might need, just kind of divided individually into a junior high and or middle school principal and or vice principal. And we can take that, is she a teacher? And is she?
Teacher on special assignment?
Yeah.
There is a teacher on special assignment.
And we would only save the difference in that salary, but that's another savings between a principal or assistant, a second principal or assistant principal, and a dean and students, whatever that difference is. Because that's a lot, 7 through 12. I know a lot of schools bigger schools have 7 through 12 with one principal, but I think they have assistants and other help too. So that would be one idea I'd throw out there for a little more savings.
The only thing, you will have about 1,100 kids in that high school next year. Listen to what you're hearing from people.
Virginia campus they're 7 through 12.
You want to go down one more?
No, I'm saying replace, I'm saying
Yeah, but they don't have a dean.
I'm saying
Right.
replace a dean of students with an assistant principal or a second principal in that high school 7 through 12. Because deans can't do evaluations and things like that, and for the difference in money that we're going to save, we can get more out of it, and we could have, a full licensed administrators. So just let them throw it
So
out.
this is something that I guess at this point I would suggest let the finance committee talk about it, and then it'll come back here. We'll see what the finance committee
Recommend.
recommends, and then we'll come back here.
Do you have an admin tree in your head for next year, next fall?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right.
So is Cassandra tenured teacher?
First of all, let me say, I really do not want to talk about individual teachers right now.
No, but
But
everybody knows we have one.
If you're,
That's okay.
if you're directly asking me this, I don't want to answer this question. Since you're asking me, I will. She is non-tenured.
Okay, so that works into the whole scenario, but I just didn't know. That's why I asked you. Because that would make a difference, and now it does. Yeah.
Okay,
Anything else from board?
I'm good.
I'm good.
That's it?
All right. So moving on to, Dan, thanks. Moving on to policies, I'd ask the board, we could just blanket approve all of these at one shot.
I'm going to move to table. That's one I wanted to pull off the agenda, but I wasn't back in the room in time because I think it should go to the policy. It's like all the other ones that even,
These have no changes.
Substan-
There's no changes.
Yeah.
there are some changes, and there are changes, and policies that, there was a stack of policies that the previous policy committee had no changes, but still went back to that policy. And I have a couple of them that I do have some input into. And so we've got a committee, we may as well use it.
I would ask the board, let's
Motion to table.
ask the board, can I get a motion to table these?
I second that.
Motion by Sorkin, support by Westby. Any discussion? In favor of to table these, all of them?
Yeah.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Could I ask you why?
Polly, don't ask that
Well,
question.
could I ask why? It went through.
Well, it's no different than me asking you why you wanted to table them. So I don't think it's appropriate.
I'm just asking because the previous policy committee went through the same types of non-substantive things, and I think the new policy, new committee should too. So do you want me to bring up at this, well, now you passed them. No, you
Failed the table.
Okay,
I'll
so,
make a motion to approve,
Motion by Director Yuhan,
to pass all of them.
support by Director Reardon. Any discussion?
I would like to know why the rest of you who are probably going to vote to pass them don't think they should go through the policy committee.
Just because there's non-substantive changes, there are changes. I think
there are
that it should have went through the policy committee, just to be
Do
consistent.
you have any rationale for not wanting it to go to the committee?
Again, they're non-substan-
Substantive, yeah.
yeah.
It's hard.
But I mean, if there's something that you have concerns about, then looking at those ones that you have concerns about would be more appropriate than tabling all those policies.
But it's like we
I
just
just don't,
Go ahead.
I just,
We're done.
again, if there's not a lot of changes in those ones, if there are ones that have changes and you're concerned about them, then we should look at those individual ones. I just don't feel like we need to go through every single one with fine
Why
tooth
did your,
comb.
why did your committee do it? Brandy, why did your committee do it?
We have a ton of
Brandy, why did your committee do it?
order.
Badgering.
I'm asking. Would you answer? Why did your committee do it for the non-substantive policies?
Like our last committee?
Yeah.
I'm giving you my rationale, Polly,
Okay.
for why I don't think that we need to go through every single one with a fine tooth comb. I mean, look how long it took us to go through, I think 4 policies. So going through that whole list and having to fine tooth comb every one, possibly talk to an attorney about different things, If there's hardly any changes, there are MSBA recommendations, I feel like we can move forward and pass those.
But you didn't answer me. Why did your
I don't
committee
need
do
to
it?
answer.
And you know what, and the other thing,
You asked-
other thing is that
Answer.
you have to go through the best way is to go through a third of them a year, and that's a lot to put on a policy committee. And the ones that have very little or have a change of a word here or word there, but doesn't really change the policy, I just don't feel that there's a need.
And did you look through them all to see that you didn't think that there are any changes to be made? I just got these Friday, and there's certainly not enough time to go through all these policies. I think it's really not doing a service to anybody. And if
But again, the policy committee met on those other policies that we went over forever, and you still had issues with them.
those were not the non-substantive ones. Those were the ones we had to read 3 times, not, those were with substance, those ones. So these are,
One thing that this might be useful for the board to know, this did go to the policy committee, not the current one that was just recently formed, the old policy committee. They did look, and we did ask them, because I was there. Do you want these policies, the non-substantive changes, do you want them to go to the full school board? And the policy committee said yes.
when was that committee?
You were there.
Yeah.
All of these right here?
Yeah.
The 1 to
Yep,
600?
Stacy brought a big pile of them all in, and she said, what do you want me to do with them? And the committee said.
I know what I would have said.
I'm just wondering, is there policies that you specifically or want to look at? Or
I think we
all
should
of them?
just vote on this.
Well, we're
think so,
still,
too.
we're in discussion still. The ones that I quickly looked at, that was a lot of them. And if it was in the policy committee, the rest of the board never was given them to look at. The mission, the staff development, the curriculum are the ones that I can remember from just scanning them quickly this weekend. Maybe the violence prevention one?
Are you just picking some that, or do you know that there's changes?
They might not have changes, but there were some things in there
Okay.
that I would have.
That you would change.
I would change, yeah, and I would recommend.
My thing is, I think it should be consistent. If you have a policy committee, then the policy committee, the new policy committee should be at least eyeballing this before it comes before the whole committee. It's a different.
You're saying this is a holdover from the last committee?
Just to be consistent.
It is, because also for the school board, no, you need 3 readings on all of your policies. You can't do any policy in a month. They always take multiple school board meetings, so sometimes they stretch across multiple school boards.
But these ones you can do in one. These are non-substantive? Okay.
And I
that's-
feel obligated to point out to the board that these are non-substantive changes. That means there's nothing different about these policies than the old policies, although they did, sometimes a law changed, meaning the number of the law changed, and they changed that, and you can see it in red on these. It's up to you what you want to do.
Or they've spelled things out rather than abbreviate.
I've seen that, and that's not controversial. I mean, that's just like,
Are you going to call for a vote?
Yes, I will ask all those in favor of approving 104 through 624 as you see on the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So it's a 5-2 vote. Thank you. Up next is administrative items. Consider bus approval. Consider bus purchase. Mr. Gosh, you were out.
He's been there so long that the buses went up by 20%.
Bob Voss. Excuse me. I call it your Ross. It's Voss. The painter. Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Schmidt, board members. I'm back again today about purchasing buses for the coming school year. I was at the facilities committee about 2 weeks ago when they asked me to bring it to the full board. At that time, what I was asking the facility committee was for 4 buses for next year. I'm still fighting that old bus thing that we just can't get over unless we kind of kick it into gear. 2 years ago, I came to you and I asked for 3 buses and I got 2. Last year I asked for 4 and I got 3 buses and a Suburban. This year I really need 4 buses. The reason being is because there's a group of buses that we bought many years ago that are international buses that they have an engine that it's just not a lasting engine. International's had nothing but problems with them. We still have 6 of those buses remaining. They're newer buses, but they're still remaining. On the other side, we have buses that are just way too old. I've actually got buses that are 26 years old that we have to turn these buses around and turn them over. So what I'm asking for is, I did pricing with both Oakland Bus and with, used to be called Talene Transport. They're now called I-State Truck Center. They were sold. Oakland's was sold too. And I'm looking at 277 passenger buses from Hoagland's and 271 passenger buses, only because they don't fit in the Evelyn garage. The big long buses don't fit in the Evelyn garage, so we'd be buying shorter buses for those garages right now. It would be a total 260, 948 for the 77 passengers and 254 for the 71 passenger buses.
So I have to ask a question.
Yes.
I'm a motorhead, you know that. I'm not gonna lie, everybody knows it at this table. What year are these buses? That you're trading in? I mean, the ones you're trading in?
The ones I'm trading in, the ones I'm looking at trading in, Bill, I'd have to look. They are.
Yes.
Well, the oldest ones north of the bridge are probably 2015.
2015, okay.
2000, might be a 2014 in there, but
That's the oldest.
That's the oldest. South of the bridge, we are talking, 2 are gonna get replaced in July because of our purchase from last year hasn't come yet.
Okay.
So those will be gone in July, and those will be at 2 buses that are 26 and 25 years old.
And what year, I have to ask?
97?
98, 97.
97?
18 years old, 17 years old.
Okay, so 2000s,
Yeah.
roughly?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and how many miles on these things?
Some of them have 160 on them, 140.
Mm-hmm. And how about the 2015 14s?
One has 153, and the other one has about 136.
How many miles typically do you get on a bus? I know it's more northern Minnesota. I mean, when you think about the mileage and the cost, I mean, you're running these things for probably 90 cents a mile, maybe 80 cents a mile. It costs you every day. The depreciation is 80 cents a mile. Is there a way that, can you lease buses? Can you lease them?
Lease them, but because of interest rates now, they're telling us not to lease buses.
They being who?
The salesmen.
Okay.
Say don't lease buses.
Okay, well, yeah, they want you to buy one.
Right.
I'm talking here. The reason I ask is because, it just seems like we're trading in buses that are just like barely any miles on them.
But
I mean, 2014, 15, I mean, just hear me out. I mean, low mileage. I mean, my 604 diesel got 256,000 miles on it, and it runs like a beast. It starts at 10 below zero. Now you plug
But
I'm just saying.
Which bus, Bob, have the bad engines in them?
the ones that we have on the Virginia side of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and those are the ones that they won't even give you a good trade on them.
We never get a good trade.
No, but I mean.
I think the trade's embarrassing.
You're getting almost nothing for them because nobody wants those buses even in a pristine shape because those engines are that bad.
We used to get $10,000 and $14,000
Yeah.
on trade-ins. Now we're getting $1,500.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's terrible that we run these buses and that I mean, they depreciate so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's gotta be,
The bodies go far before the engines.
I understand that, but with maintenance, as you said to me at one time, that, you know, the reason the buses are rotten in Gilbert is because we didn't take care of them. I mean, that could be said on the level of Gilbert.
Said not to say that.
I'm just saying, but we gotta find a way to make these buses last longer. I mean, this is a huge amount of money every year, you know, $500,000 every year to come to the board and say we need new buses on this rotation. And I get it, we, the safety first, kids first. But we can take these buses and we can sell them to some bus company, and they're not safe for our kids, but they'll be running our kids through, you know, from here to there, you know, on them. I mean, there's got to be a way that we can make these buses last longer. I mean, what's the cost of, we put in an engine in them? I mean, put it,
Here's what happened. About 4 years ago, we had a bus in Virginia.
I saw that burned.
That I'm talking about. We did an engine in one of the buses, $28,000.
28,000. Okay,
Luckily, another one blew, and it was covered under warranty. Got that one free.
okay,
None of the other ones are under warranty anymore. We had an argument with International on one, and they agreed to pay. The dealer agreed to pay a third, we pay a third, International paid a third. So for $7,000, we have 3 of those buses with newer engines in them.
Okay.
We're not selling those buses,
okay.
but it's the ones that don't.
I mean, I, like I said, I believe in having a good fleet, but I don't believe in having a good fleet for the bling bling. You know, I believe in having a good fleet for the safety. No, the bling bling is a shiny new penny, kind of, sort of, you know. That's it. But it just seems like, you know, you're selling, and, you know, you put how many miles, you got 160,000 miles on one bus that took you how long to get there? How many years?
Well, you know, some of the ones, 15 years. It depends on where they go.
Right.
But you need to understand something. A lot of our buses are on dirt roads.
Oh, I understand. And plus, and I know my road that I live on is not perfect this time of year. I mean, it's pretty beat up.
Now, some of the buses that we're going to trade in also, you don't believe that they'll pass inspection this next year?
I'll find out on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Okay, so,
I mean, would you make more money selling these buses outright? I know you don't want to get into selling stuff.
There's nobody selling to. I went as far as to go to the dealers to check if they had used buses. In fact, I was thinking of one bus that we traded in about 4 years ago that was at the dealer 6 months ago still.
Oh.
And I talked to the dealer and they said we had 27 buses on the lot, took them all to salvage.
Well, it's unfortunate.
What's that place going, when you're coming into Duluth on the left, it's full of buses?
That's United.
Huh?
That's United Truck.
Okay, do they sell or do you use those buses?
They sell, yes.
They buy? They must buy too, if they sell.
They got a yard full of them.
That's their trade.
Okay, so there's no selling. Do we have like a bus that's like a spare bus in case we need one?
We have more than one. We need them because we do extracurricular.
Okay, so we have spares, so we don't.
Okay.
And are we needing more buses in any capacity because of, we're going to have less walkers and more bus riders?
Well,
in the
that's
future?
what I'm working on right now, and I was at the board about 2 board meetings ago, and we talked about this, and we're trying to do that with the same amount of buses, so that it doesn't cost us any more money to do it. We may have to add a bus on each side. I don't know yet, we're hoping not,
But these 4 are not additional buses than what we already have?
not additional buses.
They're replacement ones.
Replacement rotation.
Okay, and in the future, we may need more because of when all of our buildings are done. What fund is this coming out of?
That is a Spencer question, I don't know.
Got an answer to that?
This is why at this moment in time, it might be better for the board to consider this and not take action. I know Bob would love for you to take action, but this does impact your budget because this probably would come from the general supply.
That's over $1 million.
That's where we've taken these in the past, and I believe that's where both boards in the old days took them from also.
Right.
You wouldn't use COVID funds? Right, sir.
You're out of COVID funds.
Oh, we are. Missed that.
Okay, and I think I asked this at that meeting, but when I was at a school board convention some years ago, they always have bus companies there, but they've got some companies that have reconditioned buses. And so I'm wondering if that's an avenue we should look at.
I asked that question to Hoagland Bus, and they said they have never heard that.
Well, Hoagland? Well, they were down at the convention, so I just wondered about that. Yeah. So, I mean, if we could investigate that, we could maybe get some good reconditioned ones that haven't been in the salt and the dirt roads and things from some other part of the country. I just know that there was a company, or there maybe still are companies.
I think the metro buses you want to stay away from,
Wow.
because, you know, there can be 6 inches of snow on the ground, okay, at 8 o'clock in the morning, but you go by there 2 o'clock, you're gonna lick of snow on the roads. And they didn't haul nothing away, it just melted. So that tells you that there's this.
Chemicals.
Chemicals on the road.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we, and the only reason I'm doing this is because bus prices continually go up. Last year, we ordered them, and they didn't deliver them, and we had to pay more for them. And I don't think that buses are going to come down in price anytime soon, so I'll make a motion that we purchase the 4 buses and do it with the trade-ins that our director has asked.
Okay, so we got a motion to consider 8.1. Get support? Support? Motion fails. So we're going to look into this, I guess.
And I think we need to know what more of an impact on our budget it's going to have.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing on that line for the board to know is that, Bob said, we don't have the buses you ordered last year.
Right.
So we haven't paid for them. We only pay them when we get them. So if at some point between now and June 30th, the board says to purchase X number of buses, we only pay for them when they actually show up. So it is possible that paying for them would come out of next year's budget, not this year's budget.
Clarification, when did we order them?
That opens up Pandora's box.
Yeah, you get a.
Ordered these last year?
So
Yeah.
I ordered buses at this time last year. I will have them in July.
Oh, my
It was-
goodness.
it was-
Understand
Wow.
something? There is a 9-month waiting period
Wow.
for buses. I used to get them in 3.
Yeah.
Now it's 9
Wow.
because the supply chain problem.
I got forklifts that are 81 weeks out. So, I mean, order one now, you get it Christmas next year, basically.
Oh,
Yeah, if you're lucky.
see.
I have a question on, no, just to go back, you said that it's not the engines that are bad, it's the bodies give out before the engines, correct?
On particular models.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
All around, yes.
And they're all diesels?
All.
And Noel, okay, we haven't spent the money for the buses because we haven't received them yet. Does Spencer have that reserved
he does.
budget already?
He has.
Okay. So then it could, you know, the scenario you just said, it could work in the opposite too. Then we'd have to be paying at one point in time for new buses and the buses that are coming in. So just to be clear.
So we're going to put this bus purchase on the next budget committee meeting?
And that, we'll have the finance committee talk about it.
All right.
All right. Raise his hands. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you. 8.2, consider the written request from Jeff Anderson to purchase a Boss plow owned by the Rockridge District. I do believe there's some information in your board packet in regards to its fate and why he's buying it.
I will field this one too. So in February, we have a 2003 Chevy pickup that had a plow on it. The plow, the red section that you all see on the road, it's got, this is a V plow. It's got a hinge in the middle and 50% of that hinge pretty much exploded. Maintenance decided to buy a new plow instead of fixing that old plow. So that plow is on the floor in the bus garage in Virginia, sitting there. This bus driver approached me and said, you know, I don't know if I can fix it or not, but I'm willing to throw $750 into it and try to fix it. If I can't, my $750. Purchase it from the district.
I'd make a motion to accept his offer.
Support. Motion by Yuan, supported by Addie. All those any more discussion?
Discussion. I always say this all the time, and I'll say it again. Just because somebody approaches you, first come, first serve, other people don't even know about it, I think the whole community or whoever else, even further and wider, should have the chance. They didn't even know this was available. And I don't even care if we got more or the same amount of money in the end. I think it's a fairness issue, and it's a, posting and advertising issue. And so I don't think this is a good practice when somebody says, oh, I'd like to buy this. Okay, because you're the first one to ask that, we're going to sell it to them. Let's get rid of it. Let's put it out for everybody.
Past practice of Evelyn Gilbert was to whoever someone wanted it, they would just sell it to them.
But the funny thing,
There's trucks and
with
buses
my
and stuff.
tongue in cheek, a few minutes ago, you also said that we should cut down our advertising, but you want to advertise too.
This isn't the big item advertising, like full pages and 4 pages in the last.
Well,
That's a fair
It
offer.
adds up.
That's
Okay.
it's a fair offer.
Okay. Well, anyway, I don't think it's fair to any of our other constituents,
All those,
whether it's this or something else.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
6-1. 8.3, consider approval of participation in Minnesota Center's Excellent Classroom Engagement Model for Shannon Cush Jeffrey.
Thank you both for being patient.
Yeah.
Good morning, school. Hey, I'm last coming here offering school board money, so that should be a positive on my side tonight.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit. I submitted an application for a classroom engagement model, which something that we really want to encourage at our school is engagement of our students. So I submitted this for approval for the Minnesota Department of Education, Early Childhood Special Education Team. I'm going to you for your review and hopefully your approval. This is an addition to, prior we applied for a state condition called the pyramid model, social emotional model, and this would just be an addition, a great addition to the next state innovation. So I'm just kind of looking, I'm going to go through, this is part of the application process, is to present it to you, so just kind of bear with me.
That's quick open.
Rose Anderson might have accidentally taken ours. Yep, that's the one.
So kind of going into it, the classroom engagement model is just a framework that improves child engagement, social emotional relationships, and independence for children with and without disabilities, and it promotes full participation of every child in a classroom setting. So kind of looking, what it's really going to do is it's going to train our teachers, paraprofessionals, and service people. So the state is going to give us money to train these people, which is really something nice for us. It's going to expand on teaming, collaboration within those groups. And then we're going to take that data, because we always collect data because we want to know how to improve classroom engagement. So we're going to take the data, kind of look at it and see how we can improve. It's going to benefit children with disabilities, developing children, and it's in all of our settings. So it's really nice, that service part, that the classroom engagement part is even going to include like OT, PT, our special education services, which is really nice. How does a program work? So you look kind of at the middle of the classroom engagement wheel there. We're working on the engagement and independence of students and working on the social emotional relationships. So if we're engaging students, we're going to use that data to make decisions on how to engage, collaborating with, we say, caregivers, so parents, grandparents, foster parents. So we're giving them information and how to engage students. So we're sending things home, asking them to come in, and then just engaging individual children. So we kind of look at the process for implementing it. If you look at the bottom, the leading drivers, what we do is we create an implementation team, which includes a teacher, myself, paraeducator, special education, the special education supervisor, and a parent would be people that we would want on the implementation team to help us guide in how we're going to implement it. So when you kind of look on the left side, we're kind of selecting those people. Then we're going to train, and this is the nice part because you don't see this a lot, is training our paraprofessionals, how to engage students. Not that our teachers don't know how to do that, but we're training along with our teachers, our paraprofessionals, which is really nice because when you look in a classroom, when you have that additional support, they're helping get the kids engaged. Yes, we're hoping the teacher keeps them engaged, but for maybe a special education student, that paraprofessional is helping guide them in that engagement. And then the really nice part about it is there's ongoing coaching for teachers and paraprofessionals. And this is for a 5-year period, which is really nice. So as most things, when you're looking at training and coaching, you want teams to reach fidelity. So looking at that data, kind of on the right side, you're kind of looking at the data and then talking with your coach in how can I improve? What kind of action plan can I make to make improvements on how I'm engaging students? What the nice part about it is, yes, as you know, most times that the state is giving us a small amount of money, but how are we working and making that work for us? You know, where can we give in a little bit? And we're going to take our PLC time at least once to twice a month to do that coaching portion. So that's kind of our give to the state, is by using our PLC time. So what the state is going to give us is we have a really great external coach. We worked with her already on our pyramid model. Her name is Elizabeth Peters Rust, and she comes from the state, and she comes in and sits on our implementation team, giving us support that way. She comes in and when we need coaching assistance, and we do observations within our classroom to make sure that we're meeting our actionable goals, and if not, then coaching towards that, but she'll come in and help with us to do that too. The agreement is for 5 years, and right now this is kind of the process where I'm kind of like letting you know what the classroom engagement model is. So these are kind of expectations as staff benefits. So we're working on them giving more skills, more support within children in the classroom, increased engagement. We're looking at sources of additional information. And this is really nice because, the coaching part of it, it's really going to help sustain the project past the time that the money runs out. So we're kind of embedding it into what we're already doing so we can continue on with these great innovations as they leave the innovation period. And then becoming intentional, purposeful interactions with children, work for them to build kind of strengths. And then we want to create a support system within our program for our teachers, giving them that additional support that past like coaching, support maybe materials and things that they may need to help engage students. Kind of looking at what caregivers and child benefits. So we're hoping that the children's learning outcomes will increase, improve engagement and full participation of children in all classroom routines and settings. So by engaging children more, we would see less interruptions in our classrooms, hopefully less challenging behavior within our classrooms. If kids are engaged, you don't see those things happening. So how can we do that? This program will help us along with that. And then just improving independence and social skills. And this really kind of builds on the last innovation that we had. And then just collaborating with our caregivers and families that can positively impact them servicing our children. So kind of the financial support part of it. I know that you received in your packet kind of what I asked the state for. So when you kind of look at the first year, I asked for $10,000, and all the money goes to training of teachers or paras. maybe a little bit to some of the classroom engagement materials, and then the other part is coaching. So we're thinking, because we just finished an innovation about a year ago, not everybody will start the innovation at the same time. We have a phased-in plan where we will take the teachers and teams that already reached fidelity from our last innovation, and they would start the new innovation. So right now, that would be 3 teaching teams. So we're kind of starting at a slow pace to phase it in. The other portion of that is, especially the first year, would be to pay for the trainings for our special education, because at this point they are our coaches, so we want to make sure that they've gone through all the training sessions. The training sessions at this point are half-day sessions, and the second half of the training session would be where the teams would talk about putting together materials and resources that they would use. So the other portion of the funds would kind of be used for if we needed substitute teachers at that time too. Or substitute paras, depending. And not all of them would be trained on the same day, because sometimes it's really hard to find staff. So some may be attending virtually and some may be attending in person. Looking at, like I said earlier, that the funds are available for 5 years. And you'll see that we didn't really decrease a little bit as we went down, and what we're asking for was because I felt like a lot of times we have a lot of rotating teachers moving out, so I wanted to make sure that we had enough funds to last the whole 5 years and not ask the school board for more additional funds to complete this. And we're looking to provide, what we would do is we would provide necessary staff, and that they would participate in the trainings, and that we have an implementation team to carry out and guide our practices, and that we would collect and submit data to MDE, which is something that we're already doing in our other innovation. So we're kind of hooked in the system. The people who are collecting the information already know how to do it. That's one less training that they have to actually attend. We are training new coaches every year, so we can sustain it within our own program. External type coaches come in to do that. What we do is we actually submit our things into EDM, and it's really nice. We get really great reports collected to see kind of what the ebb and flow is of our programming and how we can improve our programming. We always want to be improving programming, so this is a nice way to collect data and show that, how we're doing that. So kind of looking at the installation, like I said, we would go to state-sponsored training developments. We have external support. They provide the data tool that we enter into, and then just knowing that it's evidence-based framework. And then I'm just presenting it to you, and if you agree, then you sign that you agree that we would accept the money, and the money over 5 years is $44,600 that we would accept from the state for training for our employees here. And then there would be another form that would come to Spencer too, at the side too. This would start in the fall if you agree, and it would run for 5 years, so about 2028. It's billed on quarterly. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions about it?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So the training and all the information and the materials, where does that come from?
That actually comes from the state. The state provides all of that. And so the nice part about it is they pay for everything. So they pay for the trainings, the materials, they pay for the travel, the substitute teachers.
So what are some examples of the materials then? What is the what Can you give an example of the types of
So the-
training materials?
So the training would, a lot of times it's binders of information. So there may be articles on classroom engagement, maybe different engagement idea materials, a lot of like videos, a lot of discussion, things like that.
But do we know of what specifically? I mean, that's general.
Well, we're talking pre-K kids, so we're
Yeah.
not getting into a lot of heavy curriculum type stuff. It's,
No, it's more the social emotional piece, so it's a lot to do with like routines and schedules, talking about materials that are engaging to children. So like for young children, what would engage young children? You would maybe find engaging books, maybe manipulatives that would engage students, so handing out materials to students. I mean, it's things that you would think everybody is doing, but not everybody is doing that. I mean, a lot of the pieces that we're using here, we already use because we participated in the first state innovation. But enhancing, so I know one of the things that we did this fall zoning, so like how to zone a classroom, that would be more specific, that, you know, how are you arranging your staff within the room to make sure that there's not challenging behavior and all students are playing or understand how to use materials. That was something we kind of did this fall, just knowing that because of budget restrictions last year, that we went down a para. So we asked if we could use that specific piece from this. So it's something that we've already kind of done a little bit of training on, but it'd be more enhanced type things like that.
Thank you.
I mean, I can send you more information too.
Okay.
And what is the age span then for this program?
So the age span for this innovation would be like 3 to 5.
3 to 5, and it's those with disabilities as well as just.
Yes, so when you look at disabilities, a lot of the students may need like a specific schedule. So, you know, usually we have like a daily schedule up on the wall that children follow a daily schedule, but some students, whether they have a disability or not, maybe need some more individualized schedules. So this would help with that individualized scheduling, especially for teachers who may be new to teaching, which we have been picking up lots of new teachers. This would be very helpful for them. That kind of a schedule within a schedule type thing is something that they would focus on. And it doesn't matter if they have a disability or not. If a student needs a more specific schedule, I think that we need to provide that for them.
So it's children with disabilities as well as typically developing children. So it's all children in that age.
All children.
Okay. And you talked about, did you say EDM, data information?
It's like a system that we enter our data into to the state.
Okay, is that?
EDIM.
Oh, EDIM. Is that for all kinds of things, Noel, or is that just for this?
Yes.
Oh, yes. All kinds of things in this.
Yes. So like all the data that I enter into the state system is run through that system. So like when I enter census data, state reports and things like that, it's run through that system.
And could you tell us a little bit more about the social and emotional, the SEL part of this program?
So that key pieces. So when you really look at like the social, if you're looking at a relationship with a teacher, if you have a relationship with your teacher, you're more likely to have less challenging behavior. So that part of it is that if, say that you need that additional schedule, you're following that schedule, that teacher is supporting you socially too, because you're going to be following the rules, you're going to be listening. So that's kind of the engagement part of it, that with that relationship and engagement of the student, you're going to see less challenging behaviors because they're going to be listening and following what the teacher is doing. Did that help you or not?
Yeah, but, yeah, and there must be some parts of it about social emotional learning of students reacting, children reacting with each other. Mm-hmm. And how about like, sharing, collaboration, things like that.
That's part of the engagement. If you're engaged, like say the teacher sets up like a small group, that you have that interaction between, but the teacher has to set up an engaging activity for you to do to sometimes have that interaction. For the kids who are checked out, that's kind of what we're really looking at. We want to find the kids that are checked out and check them back in. If you're checked in, you're probably more likely to be having maybe interactions with other people, more of that give and take.
So when you get this data back for self-improvement, it's not identifiable by, of the children, is it? It's more of a generalized?
In your classroom, we don't enter in specific children to the state. So at the coaching process, we collect the data, and what we collect data on is teacher, it's not students.
Okay, so that doesn't go information to the state?
No.
Okay.
No, the data only goes to the state about the teacher and the teaching team. The teacher may be coached on specific things maybe a child may need, but those coaching, the coaching log actually goes in, but it doesn't specify students, it just specifies time, like coached. So like I would enter coached for 30 minutes, but you don't even put in what you're being coached on.
Okay, so it's pretty generalized. And this will not cost the district any money? It's 100% by the state?
This year it will cost us about $1,000.
Okay, well, that's
because we have to have our first implementation meeting before the funds kick in. So yes, it will.
And even all the subs that we need, all the subs are going to be?
No, because we will not need subs because it will take place after our school year.
Okay, so for all 5 years, we won't need subs?
We will need subs, but they will be covered under that.
They will be covered, okay, that's
Yes.
my question.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will support that.
Support by Johan. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you. Consider approval request for the city of Evans for the school board to contribute $50,000 to the Bob Streeter, a consultant to work on the Evans development site. Can I get a motion?
I will make a motion.
Support by Director Addy. Any discussion?
I just wondered in here, from the last document we got, did they change it to that about school board decisions versus the city decisions? I never saw, okay.
We're just paying him, we're just kind of helping out the city of Evans for this. And it's reimbursable once the property is either sold.
Potentially reimbursable.
Potentially
Make it more
reimbursable.
saleable for us
Yep.
to sell it.
Right. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 8.5, consider approval of clinical learning experience agreement between the College of St. Scholastica, School of Nursing with the Rockridge Public.
So moved.
Support.
By Director Reardon, supported by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Meeting announcements, 9.1, meeting will be April 10th here at the administrative building. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Can I just say one thing?
I want to say something too.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I attended the ravioli making class as part of our community education opportunities. It was a wonderful time. I enjoyed it. I'm hoping to make noodles the next time. And I also, my daughter and some of her friends attended the Self-Defense for Women class. And Chelsea Tucano had, she was the leader of that class, and they too learned some things. So I'm appreciative of those classes, so thank you.
Tim?
I attended the MSBA day at the Capitol, and you've gotten several emails from MSBA, and some of them are action alerts. Tomorrow you'll be getting an email on what our board did. And then in the beginning of the meeting, or the beginning of the message is an ask from me to get to our legislators, Republican or Democrat, or if you know some that are out of the area, and tell them to vote against some of these spending bills that are proposed for education. Like one of them would be a 25 non-licensed, so paras, bus drivers, part-time, minimum payment would be $25 per hour. And you can imagine what that would do to our budgeting. Plus health, they would get health insurance. Another one would be class sizes, starting at early childhood and up, maximum of 17 kids in a kindergarten class. So you just look at like what we had in at Parkview, because I don't know that, I don't have the numbers for Laurentian, but Parkview, dropping them to 7 when we had 6 sessions there. Parkview isn't big enough. We'd have to move the second graders out of Parkview and put them into the new North Star. So what they're asking, and they're taking away a lot of it is taking away our managerial rights. And so we're happy that they're giving us money on the formula and helping the cross subsidy on special education. But there's over 3,000 matching bills in the House and the Senate that are, a lot of them are in education, and they're going to bankrupt education in Minnesota if a majority of these pass. So, and when you get that in your email, you can go down the bottom, you can see all the different ones that are in place still, House files and Senate files. Just pick them up and look at them, and then you don't have to take my word then.
I know there's a bus leaving from somewhere around here. Leaving from somewhere, it's a day trip, I think it's on a Thursday. It goes down there, lunch is served, you go down there. And
Okay.
I don't know. I heard about it, I haven't got the details on it.
Are we adding board member topics to our agendas now, or what?
Announcements.
Will we have announcements? Is that going to be a game for anybody?
Well, long as it's, I don't know, I mean, you can, if you've got something to say, go say it.
I just-
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into that. 'cause
We
you don't want
eliminated.
something to put on the
No, we
agenda.
eliminated board member topics, but now you're allowing board member topics.
I apologize, I'll send out.
Announcements or whatever.
It's
Announcements,
giving
too.
kudos to
Yeah.
people for
It's
their
still board
program,
member
so-
input, so I expect
Do you need
my
an
time.
adjourn?
Yes, I need a motion to adjourn.
I will make the motion.
I'm going to expect the same privilege.
Thank you.